Hello, welcome everyone. This is Melissa Fricky with Calix. I'll just give everyone another minute or so and we'll get started. Hi, thank you for joining us today. Our webinar, Opening Possibilities Through Open Architecture, OSS/BSS. Before our presenters begin, I want to share a few quick tips so you can get the most out of your webinar experience. Located on the top toolbar on the right-hand side, you'll see your settings and control panel where you'll find the question section. In the question section, indicated by a box with a question mark in the toolbar, we encourage you to submit any questions or comments you may have during the presentation by typing them here. We'll address those questions during the Q&A session at the end, and if we don't get to yours, we'll send you a written response. Finally, there will be a live poll question for you to take part in throughout the webinar, and we'd like to thank you in advance for your participation in those. This webinar is being recorded, and we'll post a link in the coming days on Calix Webinar Hub, and be on the lookout for an email where you'll find the link at your own convenience. Now's the time to turn over the mic to Bob Carrick with Calix. Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Melissa. Thanks for joining, everyone. Today, we're going to talk about the possibilities that really can be opened up for you operators when adopting an open architecture with BSS and OSS. I almost tongue-tied myself on adopting an architecture too close to one another there. So hopefully I'll clean that up as we go. I'm really happy to be joined by a great panel today. So obviously, first myself, for those of you that don't know me, Bob Carrick, the Director of Global Strategy for Calix Cloud here at Calix. I'm joined by Tony Stout, who's doing double duty as the CTO of not only our great partner CDG, but a great customer in PRTC. Also joined by Ross Benner, Vice President of Technology and Network Operations at Clearway Fiber, and Sebastian Ivaniski, Chief Technology Officer at VTX1. I thought it might make sense to do a very brief introduction on Calix and our stance on open architecture, because there might be some folks here that don't know who Calix is. Maybe you came in through CDG, or maybe your colleagues with the other customers on the panel, maybe you work for other organizations. So I thought it would make sense to just touch on this for a bit. If you do know who we are, then I apologize for repeating myself. But I will say, we continue to exceed from a quarterly perspective in reference to our revenue, and we are a publicly traded company, so I'm not going to go over all that. We do have more than 1,000 broadband service providers today leveraging the Calix platform, and we've continued to have 20% or greater year-over-year growth for the last 4 years, and all of those other fun accolades. But it really comes from our focus, really our mission statement, and it's very simple. I should use simple twice. It's very direct and to the point. To help you simplify your day-to-day operations, that's a lot of what I focus on in reference to Calix Cloud. How do we help you innovate so that you can bring the best experiences and solutions to your subscribers, whether that be residential, business, in the community, and then how can we help you grow your business and the communities you serve. And how we do that, I thought, was best illustrated by the next two slides, and it also really talks to our stance on an open architecture, or sometimes you'll hear me use the term an open ecosystem, right? You've got, in this case, there's a whole bunch of those partners that you see in those little logos sort of in the middle of the screen, and how we're continuing to bring outside organizations into our ecosystem for best in breed, right? Calix is not going to go build, I'll use the Arlo example, right? We're not going to go build doorbell cameras. That makes no sense. Why wouldn't we just partner and integrate with best in breed? And we continue to do that with a host of solutions from, Bark and HubSpot and all sorts from that perspective. And talking about an open architecture and standards, right? Those of you that know me on this call know that I live and breathe by industry standards. And this is an example of our adoption and continued growth on third-party certification with Calix Cloud and TR-069, and the 2025 focus on migrating to TR-369 as that starts to finally make its way into the industry. And you continue to see just how many third-party systems we continue. We used to go by all the models we supported, because it's 160 plus models today, but that slide got pretty crazy and busy, so we opted to just go with the manufacturer's logos. But I think those two slides really stand as examples of the Calix stance on an ecosystem, a partnership program, an open architecture, bringing in best of breed so that we can work with the partners, the ecosystem, the solutions, so that you as a broadband service provider can really, at the end of the day, I'm going to repeat myself, simplify, innovate, and grow. And with that, because this is, I think, a platform for you to hear from a great partner in CDG and some great stories on how CDG is adopting open architecture and really empowering our customers, our partners, our joint service providers to do fantastic things with their network. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Tony for an introduction to CDG.
Well, thank you, Bob. I appreciate that introduction. And we're very much aligned on open architectures and best-in-class partner ecosystems. One of the many differentiators of CDG is that we are owned by a service provider, and we have been operator-owned for more than 50 plus years of our company history, which really gives us a unique perspective. CDG was purchased 4 years ago by PRTC, and our executive leadership team manages both companies, with the vision being blending our knowledge of telecom operations with our software development expertise and OSS BSS to create a truly operator-owned and operator-driven platform. That platform is called CDG Elements, and it is a next-gen cloud-based open architecture OSS BSS platform, which is fully integrated with Calix CMS, SMX, and all the Calix clouds, plus a wide range of best-in-class partners. And our vision for Elements is to deliver an industry-leading solution that enables our clients to grow and manage their operations without having to spend time on manual processes or swivel chair between multiple systems. The CDG Elements platform enables rapid growth and efficient operations built on automation and real-time integrations. And those real-time integrations are really the key, in our opinion, to open architectures. Next slide. So there are numerous benefits to open architectures. We're going to highlight a few. Obviously, flexibility is very important. You just mentioned best-in-class partner ecosystem. CDG has over 70 partners in our ecosystem, and that allows our clients to select from a wide variety of partners to build out their own tech stack that fits within the needs of their business. Obviously, open architectures facilitate innovation, and this allows us to exploit innovation that Calix is building with your R&D and all the innovations that you guys are implementing. We're able to leverage that, as well as our other partners, to build this 1 + 1 = 3 concept of really driving innovation, constant innovation, and new technologies into the software stack. And that really provides empowerment. Our clients want open architectures. They aren't looking to be locked in with a particular vendor or a one-size-fits-all type of a solution, but they really want to pick best-in-class partners with that underlying platform that glues all of those systems together. And that's really what CDG Elements is all about. Next slide. So we mentioned being operator-owned. Our parent company, PRTC, serves a 12-county region in southeastern South Carolina. We've been in business a long time. We provide a wide variety of telecommunications services to over 20,000 subscribers. We've been, as you mentioned, we've been a Calix customer for over 15 years and have a very long-standing partnership with Calix, both as a service provider and as a CDG partner. We have roughly 15 support team members and another 12 in our call center. And we are leveraging not only the CDG Elements platform at PRTC, but also those best-in-class partners that really form the foundation of our ecosystem. Next slide. So I want to talk a little bit about the benefits of real-time integrations. Obviously, we have deep integrations to the Calix Cloud, Service Cloud, and Operations Cloud are both deployed at PRTC. And those real-time integrations give us instant access to customer data in the cloud as we leverage that data in our day-to-day operations of troubleshooting and supporting our clients. Also, real-time provisioning through integrations with CMS and SMX, reduces manual data entry and some of the delays that we experienced in the past through file-based integrations for provisioning. Now we have real-time provisioning, which results in faster access to the data, faster troubleshooting, and ultimately faster time to restore. CDG rolled out a new solution called Subscriber Hub several months ago at PRTC. The Subscriber Hub is our tier 1 support tool that has deep integration with this Calix Subscriber Services API. So that allows us to surface lots of real-time data, such as ONT status, residential gateway status, Wi-Fi statistics. We can reboot equipment, all in a single pane of glass around a single dashboard. And that has reduced troubleshooting times for our frontline employees by over 75%, which has been a tremendous efficiency gain for our team. And also, these open integrations and real open architectures support other integrations, such as our integration with Checkpoint, which I know Ross will be talking about in a few minutes, and our ERP solution, Acumatica. With that integration, we're able to track and manage real-time CPE inventory between our Elements platform and our ERP solution. Bob, back to you.
Yeah, no, appreciate it. Thanks, Tony. So you mentioned CDG's real-time integration to Calix Cloud, so thank you for that. I was wondering if you could give us some insights on potentially any automations you might be working on with Calix Operations Cloud.
Absolutely. So we are building an outage management solution that leverages the Calix Service Disruption API and webhooks to automate ticket creation and customer notifications. That's based on outage events such as an ONT missing, a dying gasp, or loss of pond scenarios. So that is currently in development. We plan on launching that in Q4 of this year. And I think it will definitely build additional capabilities for our clients to better manage those sometimes outage related issues that could be related to fiber cuts or issues inside their network, or those that are outside of their control, such as commercial power failures.
I appreciate that. You know, you mentioned your 75% reduction in troubleshooting time. Obviously, automating outages in the way that you described is going to help improve that, as well as increase things, or decrease things like mean time to repair. That's fantastic. Appreciate the the overview today, Tony. Thank you. I'm going to go over next to Ross.
Thanks,
From
Bob.
Clearwave Fiber.
Thanks for that, Bob. So good afternoon, everybody. I'm Ross Benner. I'm the Vice President of Technology and Network at Clearwave Fiber. Clearwave was founded in 2022, and we're headquartered in Savannah, Georgia. We serve currently residential and commercial subscribers in 4 states, being Illinois, Kansas, Georgia, and Florida. We have a goal, obviously, to build out 500,000 homes across the country by 2026. And again, we were formed as a spin out of some assets from Cable One in 2022, and obviously we've been hard at work here growing our subscriber base. Next slide, if you don't mind, Bob. So one of the things that we appreciate from our point of view is the commitment by the partners we use, being like Calix, Checkpoint, and CDG, around the openness of their APIs, their integrations. We've leveraged a number of integrations. I'm going to talk about a few of them today. The first one being our partnership with Checkpoint, which powers our e-commerce platform. We launched that in early 2023, and it has been immensely successful for us in terms of generating at least a third of our orders on a monthly basis come through that channel. It's grown since we first designed it, in the fact that we're now leveraging data from CDG to define pricing areas, offering targeted offers, and just it's been tremendously successful. And that wouldn't have been possible if we didn't have these open standards between all of these platforms. We also have heavily invested ourselves in Calix Operations Cloud and Service Cloud, and that's really helped us drive a 95% resolution rate for first call into our support centers. By getting those real-time customer data points, we're able to identify problems quickly and get customers restored as fast as possible. And as Tony mentioned, we're partnered very closely with CDG on this automated outage notification tool that they're developing. And we pull in the webhooks from Calix Cloud. That allows us to identify what type of issue they're having. And then again, because it's so open, we can then layer on third-party data, like Tony mentioned, around things like commercial power outages. So, we can actually tell customers, yeah, we know you have a problem with your service. We can actually tell you even what it is and estimate how long it's going to be restored. And then finally, I want to just briefly talk about the efficiency of our field forces. CDG, again, through their analytics and capabilities, has allowed us to do route optimization for our field forces. And this has been a game changer for us in the fact that we're able to ensure that we're limiting drive time. We're able to do as many possible installs in a day, and making sure we have the right technician, the right truck, and the right equipment for each job that they're doing. So it has been tremendously important to us at Clearwave Fiber that we partner with companies such as Calix, CDG, and Checkpoint that have a firm commitment and belief around open access, open architecture, and open integrations. And I'll turn it back over to you, Bob.
Appreciate that so much, Ross. Firstly, thank you for helping, the teams with the understanding of how to automate those outages in reference to Operations Cloud and the CDG work that's being done. And then also, I love hearing that you've got, literally 95% first call resolution, and appreciate that you're linking a ton of that to Calix Cloud. So thank you. A 95% first call resolution rate. For those that don't know, I spend a lot of my time in call centers, and from the smallest to literally the largest in the world, and that's basically unheard of. So good on you all for the work you're doing and the fact that you're growing at 2,000 subscribers a month. Could you elaborate on a bit more on how CDG's integrations are really helping you and Clearwave Fiber add literally 2,000 subscribers a month?
Definitely. So for us, it's all about the customer experience, and those integrations not only assist us in being able to efficiently onboard a new customer, get their services configured, get the proper technician, do a self-install. We also offer self-install, and that's also, you know, in terms of activation and everything, that's all powered by these integrations. And then again, should a customer have a problem, we certainly hope they don't, but when they do, just again, focusing on that customer experience and making sure that we make it as easy as possible to do business with us when they have a problem, and definitely when they don't have a problem.
Really appreciate it. Thanks for that additional clarity, Ross. Sebastian from VTX1, I'm going to turn it over to you.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Bob. I'm Sebastian Ivaninski with VTX1 Internet. We are an ILEC and a CLEC in South Texas, founded in 1952 with the very same purpose that almost every other ILEC was founded on, which is taking telephone services to those areas, the very rural areas of the state where the larger companies were not providing service. And as the technology evolved, as we all know, it turned into broadband eventually. And we pioneered fiber optics in the late 90s for the areas where we needed to connect our exchanges together and the distances were just too large for continued service with copper. And eventually moved into fiber to the home services around 2006 during the time period of the American Reinvestment and Recovery Act. We took grants and loans to expand our network and open it markets on areas that were outside the original co-op's territory. And long story short, now we are counting over 36,000 subscribers. Even though we cover a fairly large number of counties, we count more of the communities that we serve because it's so rural that we may not do it justice. And so today we can proudly count up over 200 communities that we serve individually, because even with such a large territory, we cover close to 40,000 square miles. We still average less than a customer per square mile. And so it's very, very rural. We count with about 25 support team members, and this counts not only technical support, but anyone who touches a customer record, and offer that over 10 different service offerings based between or split between business and residential service, carrier services, and even count with an international crossing going over into Mexico for those carrier services as well. Move on to the next slide. So in our approach to, or taking this approach into open architecture systems, came from kind of a revising or reviewing a history of where our systems have been over the years. While I've been with VTX1 for close to 20 years now, I do have a past in my career in IT where I worked a little bit in manufacturing IT, healthcare IT, and for us, open architecture was common life. That is all we knew. And so while I was at VTX1, I spent a lot of time on our network management, and only recently, over the past 3 to 5 years, I dwelled more into our actual IT deployments and came to realize that our industry was not big on the open architecture. And this mostly came, in my view, from the traditional ILECs, who were much smaller and more accustomed to that sort of personal service, where the older monolithic systems were very much fitting for this. But as we started growing, we started noticing the challenges of maintaining this approach, because as we grew by acquisitions, especially in the last 5 to 7 years, we noticed obviously that every company we acquired came with its own systems and its own processes. And it was really hard to aggregate the data that came from each one of them to make sense of how the entire business was performing, not only in customer experience, but also even financially. And so the other challenge that we threw into this is that we also heavy in fixed wireless, not just fiber. And we knew and we realized most of the systems that we were able to shop for when it came to our business were very heavily focused on fiber. And so as we got a little bit more familiar with the products and services that Calix offers, as much as we started shopping for a new system, we took a step back in our IT approach and said, we may want to start exploring that open architecture that we know exists and that probably hasn't been as prevalent on the IT and the telco IT. And so we were immediately drawn to CDG because of those two things. One is the open architecture approach, but the other one is the fact that they're operator owned, and that meant one big thing for us, and that means you know our pain, you know what it's like to be in our shoes, and that for us was a big plus. And so the biggest job after that was to turn around to our company, and mind you, I will make clear that we are still very much in the migration process. We haven't finished yet with that. We are working towards it. And I cannot speak enough about how easy CDG has made it and how involved they are in the migration process, which created a lot of nervousness and uncertainty to our company because we were used to the idea that when a new system is on the table, that meant someone was going to make a sacrifice in efficiency in order to benefit another group. And after tons of research and trying to figure out how this next migration will impact, say, the warehouse, we will eventually have to make compromises and go back and say, we're sorry you're going to miss this functionality, but it seems like you may have to take one for the team. And so we started trying to sell this idea to our internal stakeholders to say, look, it's going to be a pain to go from not having a system that is open to having one that it is. I am used to working with systems that are open like this, but I have never really worked on the migration from not having it to having it. And so we figure that bringing in a system like CDG that is operator owned will bring that peace of mind that no matter what has been thrown at us, we have a counterpart at PRTC that can help us figure it out, how they do this and how they went through the migration to it. So I started selling it internally as a migration to end all migrations. And I'll put that with a grain of salt because I know that as technology goes, such a thing doesn't exist. We're always going to be evolving and having to look for change, but at least make make everybody understand that the next time that a new system comes to the table, if it doesn't affect the warehouse, then the warehouse can stay with what they have. And finance may be able to switch to the next thing without affecting everybody else or having to put a halt in everybody's operations. The other, I believe, plus of the open architecture is that we all have business ideas, we all have business plans, we know what, that on paper and during a meeting, we can all dream about the growth we could bring if we could do X, Y, or Z. But the problem is, and the emphasis on systems is that if you cannot translate your idea into a business process that your system can support, then you're going to make the compromise on that great idea. And the ability to integrate tools as you go will definitely not remove the challenge or completely, but it will definitely make it easier to put those ideas and make them materialize. And that's, go ahead.
Oh, no, sorry, go ahead, Sebastian.
No, I believe that is it for this section.
Appreciate it, thank you. So, as you were talking, I realized that, your growth by acquisition, right, which is obviously one of the reasons why you were looking to a new platform and also why it was, for lack of a better term, a scary choice during all of this. But acquisition obviously is actually happening a lot in our space now. So this choice and this challenge is one that I think a lot of service providers are going to start facing over the years. When it's all said and done, because I know you're only starting into your migration, but when it's all said and done, what do you see or do you think will be the biggest benefits to VTX1 once the migration is complete?
Well, for one big item would be our ability to aggregate all this data. The way it is now is so hard to get, reports, metrics, and even things that we need to present to our board. It's an issue to get it all together on time, and sometimes the ability to, even though everybody puts their best effort forward, sometimes you go as far as questioning, is this really accurate? Did we miss something? And in some cases, when we acquired our first target, many years ago and never necessarily expected that we would be counting 5 acquisitions later on. We made some moves to aggregate their data into our current system that not only maybe even bogged them down as a profitable company as they were, but also didn't account as a bigger picture. What if and when we bring another one? Is it going to look the same? Is it going to be adaptable to what we did with them? And so there was a lot of reactionary changes that took place over the years, that if we had more of that ability to plug in systems together, would have been definitely easier to at least measure the error rate, if anything, about where the data is coming from. Did we change something to them that they don't necessarily understand? Because us being an ILEC and a CLEC that is already used to operating under things like Part 32 accounting or GAAP accounting, and acquiring a company that's cash-based, it's hard to translate it if they don't have the skill set to operate under a new mode. And the system that would have assisted on that just wasn't present at the time. And now we expect that to be much easier going forward.
Appreciate it. So really, if I sort of rolled that up, it's, it sounds like it's aggregation of data, single source of truth, standardization of those data sets, etc.
Absolutely. Even workflows, inventory processes, purchasing aggregation, like, getting the economies of scale of being able to order things through one source and get better pricing and so on.
Appreciate it very much. Thank you, Sebastian, for that. Because you brought up aggregation, single source of truth, I thought, I wanted to touch back to Tony. Tony, you mentioned the single pane of glass that you're working on with the subscriber hub and the 75% improvements in efficiencies and time to resolution. Could you expand a bit on that? Did you even want to maybe share something in addition?
I'd be glad to. I'm not exactly sure how to share my screen.
That's true. You might not be set up to share, but if you could expand on what you're doing with the subscriber hub, I think that might be beneficial to folks.
Absolutely. So the subscriber hub allows our clients, and it's really built for the call center agent or the tier 1 support agent, to be able to see the real-time state of the network from the OLT down to the subscriber premise. So we're showing the ONT, and the state of the ONT is the WAN port up. How long is it? What's the uptime? There's a whole bunch of data, as you know, that you're exposing in your APIs. We're able to surface that. And then we're also able to do the same for the residential gateway, and we can show WAN port status, Wi-Fi health score, and lots of Wi-Fi information, uptime. We can reboot equipment and show mesh units and those end subscriber devices inside the home as well, and how they're performing from a Wi-Fi perspective. And all of that is in our version of a digital twin representation of the customer's broadband connection. It does support multi-vendor, so in the event a client is using a third-party device, that would be visible on the same interface, just as you showed all the various vendors that you support in your ecosystem. And that has really been a game changer for our at least at PRTC, in that we're able to leverage all the important aspects of Service Cloud for that tier 1 support team. All the things that they would typically swivel over to Service Cloud and search for, we're presenting that in Subscriber Hub. But then we're also providing a chat bot that allows them to interact with a bot that can perform lots of different functions, like upgrading the customer service, rebooting the customer's router, looking at the status of a ticket, creating a new ticket. And when we create a new ticket, we'll embed those operational data points into the ticket automatically. So it's 1 or 2 clicks to create and dispatch a ticket. And that includes collecting lots of valuable data from Service Cloud. So that's just a few examples of how Subscriber Hub is enabling, through automation, a much more rapid time to repair, faster troubleshooting, and allowing us to also engage more with our less technical call center agents who maybe are a little intimidated by Service Cloud, and now we can give them a red, yellow, green, very simple view into the state of the customer's network.
I appreciate that, Tony. It sounded like just from that brief introduction, I think I counted probably 8 different screens that you've reduced from a troubleshare a swivel chair perspective. Certainly, if we deep dove into the solution, I bet you it's more than 8. But just off that, 2-minute introduction, I think I counted 8 as you were speaking.
Yeah, that's true, and we're trying to build additional value to the Calix Cloud services. We understand that tier 2, tier 3, and engineering resources will likely want to interact directly with Service and Operations Cloud, and that's fine. But for the call center agents or even third party, many of our clients use third party call centers, and they're looking for a lightweight, simple front end to allow them to very quickly diagnose and determine the state of the client's network. And when you overlay the outage management piece that we talked about earlier, it's just a really powerful tool for being able to support clients, subscribers, in a very efficient manner, and reduce troubleshooting times and mean time to restore.
Yeah, no, really appreciate it. Thank you. Yeah, aligned 100%, right? Tier 1, definitely the fewer screens, the easier it is to get them to adopt the solution, the easier it is to onboard new tier 1 representatives within an organization. So being able to have it all in a single pane, and then yes, when you need to go deeper into the other solution for less common fixes, solutions, and problems, totally, that's really where we should be striving to go from an industry perspective. So really appreciate that, Tony. With that, I'm going to turn it over to our first poll question. Melissa?
Are you using a closed architecture BSS OSS system today? I'm going to wrap up the poll shortly. And here are the results.
And I apologize, I can't see the results, so I can't speak to them.
Let me just recap briefly. We had a 46% saying yes, they are using closed architecture BSS OSS systems today, and 54% said no.
Appreciate it, great. Don't go yet, folks. We have a couple more poll questions. Next, thank you, Melissa.
Okay, what do you think is the most valuable benefit of an open architecture? Our options are flexibility, ease of integration, empowerment, and other. I'll give you a few moments to answer those questions. Okay, and the results are 38% said flexibility, 46% says ease of integration, 15% said empowerment, and nobody said other.
Appreciate it. Last one, Melissa, thank you.
Okay, here's our last poll. Would you like a consultation with an expert from CDG or from Calix? Okay.
Well, luckily those results we can keep for ourselves.
All right, all done.
Appreciate it. I wanted to say thanks to Tony, especially for doing double duty, obviously representing not only CDG, but also PRTC. Thank you to Ross from Clearway Fiber. Thank you to Sebastian from VTX1. Thank you, obviously, Melissa, for all the work in the background and the polls. Obviously, anyone on the audience and in the audience, if you have comments, questions, thoughts, please don't hesitate to reach out to anybody you know from any of the organizations that were represented here today, including myself from Calix. So thank you, and hopefully you all have a good day.
Thank you again for attending today's session today. On behalf of Calix and our partners, thank you for joining us for today's webinar, and enjoy the rest of your day.